So hello everyone. So welcome to the session of Dream Big. I want to introduce Jewel, who is going to be going to Georgia Tech this fall. He just graduated from American High, and I'll let him take it from here. So Jewel, if you want to share your screen.
Oh yeah. All right. Hi everyone. My name is Joel. As Jess just said, and yeah, I'm an incoming freshman at Georgia Tech, majoring in computer science. Um, so I recently graduated from American High School. So I've attended in 2020. And over the course of my high school career, I think I took a total of 11 AP courses, and then an additional one which I self-studied, um, and took the AP test, but not the course. And then I also did a few dual enrollment classes at Ohlone College and De Anza Community College during the summer, um, like the past 2 summers. And then my SAT was a 1530, and then my GPA was from ninth to 11th grade was a 4.0. Um, so yeah. And then in terms of like honors courses and stuff, I believe I took an extra uh, two honors courses, not including English. Um, so yeah. In terms of extracurricular activities, um, I did a few software engineering internships at a few companies. These were like
To
not
be honest, just pass a field.
they were pretty small companies. They weren't too big, but it allowed me to gain a lot of real world experience and stuff, so that I could actually start writing code and developing products. In addition to that, I was on a robotics team for a few years, so I participated in competitions and then advanced to the regional or the state level. And then, yeah, so I basically wrote code, and then I was like the software captain for our team. So I did for robotics. And then I was also in a few school clubs, including my own, which is the Web Dev Club at American. So I founded and was president of that club for 3 years. Um, and then I also got a lot of like honors and awards like from numerous hackathons and other competitions that I participated in. And just from, I also did Boy Scouts since I was like in elementary school. So for a few years, and I was able to get the Eagle Scout Award and then a few awards from there too. So yeah. In terms of essays, last summer is pretty much when I started writing my essays. So I started with the UC application because that was the only application open at the time. So I wrote all my UC essays during the summer, and I worked with the counselor. And then right after that, I focused on my Common App personal statement, which is like the long essay, like the 650 word essay. So yeah, I just kept essentially writing more drafts and coming up with new ideas, and just kept on reiterating and working through all these different essays. So it wasn't, and as I said before, I also worked with a counselor, so he kind of helped me through the process as well. Um, and then after the Common App, like in uh, when all the other applications opened towards the end of summer, I started working on those. So like all the out of state ones, things that aren't on the UC application, everything on the Common App. So I started filling those out, and working like on writing essays. And then there's the activity list too, part of Common App, where you have to list, 10 activities, give a short description of them, like tell how many hours you work, like how many days a week, stuff like that. And the UC application is something similar to the Common App, except it's slightly longer. It allows for a total of 20 activities and awards. So I worked on filling that out as well. And yeah, I was able to submit like all my college apps at the start of November. So like November 1st through 8th was like all the deadlines. And then the UCs were due November 31st, or November 30th. And in terms of regular decision, which is like in January, I believe only submitted one, which was Stanford. So yeah, that's it. And in terms of letter of recommendation, I reached out to two teachers because the minimum is two for most colleges. Some don't even accept them. So yeah, I just was able to reach out to my math and English teacher. Um, but yeah, so that's pretty much like a brief overview of what I had or like how I worked through it. I can go back to a few more of my extracurricular activities if that's any help. So, if we're looking at internships, one of the main internships that I did was at a social media company. Uh, it was a pretty small social media company, like a startup. And there I was doing a lot of web development work, so stuff in the back end and front end, like actually building the user interface for the website and also working on like the API calls and reading from the database, stuff like that. So I, fixed bugs, I developed new features, pretty much like all those things. I led a few projects there as well. And it was really beneficial for me. And also that company is selling soon to another company. So that was a good thing. Um, and then in terms of like other words, so I participated in the Congressional App Challenge, which is hosted by the United States Congress, or sorry, House of Representatives. And they essentially host like a challenge for people to uh, you know submit applications like software applications to solve certain problems, and then you would submit it, and then they would rank you and give you an award. So we won first place for our district, and we were able to like go to the White House and show our thing there. Unfortunately, it was during COVID time, so it was kind of virtual, but yeah. And then also the TSA, that's the Technology Student Association. So that was also another national competition I participated in. Um, we got like top 10. So that's like a school competition that like the school submits to like the organization, and then they you have their judges to rank your project. And then like other than that, I did a lot of hackathons, so independent hackathons from like other places, like private ones. And like I got a lot of awards from there. Again, just submitting like building a project to solve some solution, and then like writing code for it, and then like pitching that idea to the judges so that they could see it. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. So I got some questions in the chat, so I'll
Mhm.
just ask a couple of them. So what exactly should you include in your college essays? Is it sh storytelling or what?
Um, yeah, so I would say that there's a lot of components to it. One would definitely be storytelling, right? You have to kind of tell a story and sell yourself, because no matter how good achievements that you've accomplished, like you could have, like cured cancer, but if you don't actually write it properly, um, how is the admissions officers going to actually, like figure out what you're actually if what you're actually doing is impactful. So essentially, it all comes down to your writing and how you like pitch yourself and how you sell yourself to the admissions officers, and to show them like how good of a candidate that you actually are. So storytelling does come into play, but at the same time, you do need to list some actual actionable items that you did. Like if you were a leader for some team, like what did you actually do, right? Like you can't just say, "Oh, I was a leader." You have to, like tell, show, not tell.
Which aspects of your application do you think really helped you get into Georgia Tech, and what aspects do you think people should really focus on?
I think so. For Georgia Tech, all every single college will release like this list of what they're actually looking for, whether like or how much of a certain factor actually plays into their like admissions process. So for Georgia Tech, their testing, like standardized tests, weren't like a big thing in their in their decision making process, right? Like it was accepted, it was required for you to do it, and it did play a small role, but it wasn't major. and every single college is different, and they'll explain like, oh, we actually value letter of recommendations a lot more, or we value essays a lot more. But at the end of the day, it's best to have like all parts of your application um, good. Like aim to like aim high so that you don't have to say like, oh, I'm gonna make this part of my application slightly worse, and focus on other things. I understand like it is good to prioritize, so essays definitely are a big thing, but at the same time, it also comes down to your extracurricular activities, right? Like, um, and more so how you actually write those activities. You only have 150 characters to describe a certain activity in your Common App, and you only have space for 10 activities. So you need to like figure out which 10 activities am I going to write. You don't have to fill out all of them, but you do need to have a really good description of like how you're what you did. You need to show numbers, things that you actually like did, not saying like, oh, like I led a team, but what did you do? Like, what did you do as a leader, right? Like, did you create like 1,000 products? Did you sell, 1,000 different apps? Like, what did you actually do? Numbers are very important, stuff like that. So yeah.
And then what did you do in the summer of your 10th and 11th grade, and what are some good suggestions?
So summer of 10th and 11th, I did do the dual enrollment courses. So in the summer of 10th, I did one at Ohlone, and summer of 11th, I did one at De Anza. And these were both for just computer science courses, so they gave me like college credit. But they also showed that I was willing to go out of like school and learn about my major. So in addition to that, I did a bunch of internships, like the stuff I was talking about for the social media internship, and then I did a few smaller ones on the side. But also I did robotics, which is a main thing for my 10th and 11th grade summer. That's when I kind of started doing robotics and was on a team. Um, I was working on like an algorithm for software. I worked on that, and then also studying for the SAT during the 10th grade summer. Um, and uh, yeah, pretty much that's what I was doing. And also I was not like completely studying too. I was also having fun, going out with my friends, stuff like that. It's pretty important. Like your mental health, and your well-being is also very important. So make sure you have a life outside just like sitting on your computer and just doing like a bunch of internships. Oh, one more thing. I did do a lot of like projects when it came to um uh computer science. So for computer science, it's very easy to like create, applications and stuff. So that's why I hackathons was a big thing I did. And then I also like built side projects for myself. So I did like a sorting visualizer. That was just one of the things I did. There were a lot many projects, and I put them all on my GitHub. And so yeah, that's how I spent most of my time. Yeah.
When did you take the SAT and how many times did you take it?
I took it in the 11th grade. So I took the first one in August of 2022. Uh, and then the um, and I didn't do that well on that one, but I did my second one in November of 2022, which is where I got my other score. So that's what I did. And I also did take the SAT, or sorry, not the SAT, the ACT, in the summer junior year, so last summer. I didn't really focus. I didn't study that much. I believe I studied for like a few days because I was kind of happy with my SAT score. I just wanted to give the ACT a shot too, just to have that there with me. So I ended up getting a 34 on the ACT, which isn't like the best, but considering that I only studied for like a few days, it was fine. And it wasn't like, it was just something I wanted to try and see if I liked it more than the SAT and not. Yeah.
Going out of state is a big challenge. How did you consider the community and the location of Georgia Tech before deciding to commit there?
So yeah, the Georgia Tech was actually one of my top choices for school. One reason being, so like just a bit background, I initially did not want to go to out of state at all. I kind of wanted to stay at UC's, um, and like nothing much. But Georgia Tech was the exception because I do have a lot of family there. I have like family friends who also go to Georgia Tech, and I've like been to Georgia like 3 or 4 times already. So it's like I was very familiar with that environment. I really like the state. I visited Georgia Tech like the summer before, so last summer. And I really liked it a lot. So it was a top choice for me. And like when I got in, I was almost certain I was going to go there, with the exception of like UCLA or UC Berkeley or something like that. Yeah.
How did you manage your time with school and outside activities?
So I think with school, I kind of this is actually a very interesting question. How did you manage your time? I didn't so like a lot of people have like calendars and stuff like that. I didn't really have like an organized thing. I kind of did like whatever I wanted whenever I wanted. And when it comes to like studying in school, like I just honestly just paid attention in class. So I didn't really have to study like outside too much. Obviously there was like studying for APs and things like that, but yeah, nothing too crazy. Um, and that's why like I was able to do a lot of work in my extracurriculars, but at the same time, like I had a lot of good friends who were like at a very similar level with me. So we were all doing computer science or something similar to that, and we all had a lot of the same extracurriculars. We've been friends for a while, so like we were able to find time in our schedule, go out. I was able to have fun, and yeah, so it wasn't high school wasn't really that stressful for me. Like I kind of made the most out of it, and I'm not saying there weren't times where I was stressed, like for some super important test or APs, but yeah, it was pretty nice. Like again, I guess to answer that question, I didn't really have like a set schedule. I kind of just went with the flow. I guess that's a better way of saying it. It's just whatever came naturally, I kind of did, and I didn't really like think about doing like think about everything too literally, and just went with whatever. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. And then one last question that I got. Would you recommend self-studying AP classes?
Yeah, 100%. So, the thing with APs, so there's self-studying and then there's also like taking the course. And so taking the course that shows colleges that like you've actually gone through the course. It adds to your GPA, and it kind of gives them like a guarantee that like the content. You've like if you're taking a science course like chemistry, if you self-study that, it's kind of hard to do the labs and stuff, right? So taking that course counts towards your credits, first of all, counts towards your GPA, but it also shows colleges that like you thoroughly understand the content and you've taken the course from like some like from your high school, right, which is pretty reputable. Self-studying, or just taking like the AP exam score itself, it shows that like you were able to absorb the content and you're actually skilled at the content, and getting higher score, like just like it's similar to the SAT, right? It's just like another standardized test that they look at. But it also counts towards like your college credit, so you can skip out on certain courses. So self-studying, in my opinion, is good because it shows colleges that like you're willing to take tests relating to your major, like other like um, not only in like apart from high school, and then also you can count those towards your eight like college credit. So it's very useful when it comes to skipping courses. Like for I know for computer science there's only two, but if you're majoring in something like chemistry or some science field, taking like there's like what three physics or four physics exams: AP Physics 1, AP Physics 2, AP Physics C, Electricity and Magnetism, and AP Physics C, Mechanics. So there's a total of four of those classes, and you can skip out on a lot of your courses in college. So it helps a lot. And again, it looks good that on college applications because they know that you're trying externally and you care about taking extra stuff. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a couple more questions in the chat. Did you take any classes for the SAT?
The SAT, I did take, I believe, that summer I was enrolled in some tutoring program for like a month or two. It wasn't that helpful. I'm gonna be completely honest. A lot of the help, like it just if if you're like not that great and you really need a lot of tips, there's YouTube videos and stuff like that. But if that still doesn't work, then a tutoring option is
nice. But I think to me, it wasn't really that beneficial. And I kind of did better without it anyways. Like I stopped at the end of summer and then I did better in my second try. So I think it's just about practice and how you do on that. Also, I think like now they have the digital SAT, right? If I'm not mistaken. That's the new thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a completely different format. I'm not too familiar with it. So my experience is just based on like the paper one, like the one that's been going on for a while. So I can't really give too much advice into the digital. Um, so I think maybe it would be best to consult someone who's actually taken that and like given their advice. But if you are taking the paper one, I think the best thing is doing practice and practice. There's a lot of practice tests online that you can take. They have like answer keys and stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, and then someone also wants to know, how did you get internship opportunities?
So internship opportunities, a lot of the ones I got was through LinkedIn. So I kind of like did a LinkedIn like spam. So I just like went like search for jobs and then just applied to a bunch of them, or reached out to like people that I know that I'm connected with on LinkedIn. And I just said, oh, like, do you have an opportunity for me, etc. And that kind of worked. Like you do have to reach out to a bunch of people. Like it's very hard to get something in high school, but it is possible. An alternative to internships, something that I didn't do that I kind of do regret not doing is research. Like reaching out to professors, and like actually publishing a research paper and stuff like that. That is very nice and it looks good in applications. It also teaches you a lot and it gives you a connection with a professor who can write a letter of recommendation for you. So that's like definitely a thing you should do. I do regret not doing it. So yeah, summer programs are also another thing I didn't do. I think I have a few friends who did do it and they said it was good. It taught them a lot. I'm not sure if it's like too great, but there are good summer programs out there that are helpful. But in my opinion, research would be better because you're actually publishing something and you're like getting hands-on experience. So yeah, I think that's my 2 cents on it. But yeah.
Okay, that's all the questions I had. I'll give it a minute for any last minute questions. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I don't think there's any other questions. So, oh wait, actually there's. Is AP and chemistry needed for computer science majors?
So this is a good question. So like are certain APs required for computer science? Well, the point of APs, there's a few purposes, right? Like one, obviously, does have to relate to your major, right? That's why I took both AP CSP and then I self-studied CSA. Um, Now, the reason I took a chemistry and physics, one was to fulfill my science requirements, but also to show course rigor. Course rigor is very important when it comes to college apps. So it basically tells colleges that, oh, like you're willing to take a hard AP course because AP chemistry is, I believe, like top three or something like that, like hardest AP courses according to College Board or whoever like made the ranking. But it shows like College Board that, or it shows the admissions officers that like I'm willing to take a hard AP course even if it doesn't relate to my major and do well in the course. So it shows good work ethic, discipline. You're able to absorb all forms of content, so not just like computer science. You're able to like learn chemistry as well. And this goes for any AP. So like for AP Physics or AP Bio or AP Psych, whatever. It just shows that you're able to take a hard course and do well in it, which is why the primary reason I took it. Not like that it has anything to do with my major. But yeah,
Okay,
hopefully that.
another question was, did you have a college counselor?
Yeah, so I believe I briefly touched up on that in the meeting. I did have a college counselor. One of the main reasons was like I was like I'm a first gen, right? So it's like I was the first person going to college uh, in the United States in my family. So I wasn't really like we weren't really too familiar with the process in general. So I kind of needed some help with that. So it kind of he did help me a lot when it came to like explaining certain things and guiding me through the process. But he was also really good at editing my essays. So that's good. So if you don't need a college counselor, there's two different things. There's like an essay editor and there's also a college counselor. College counselor will help you with pretty much everything relating to your application, but essay editors are primarily for just editing your essays, nothing more than that. So it depends on if you're confident in like what you're majoring in. I was confident in what I was majoring in. I just kind of needed help through the process. But if you're not confident in that or like how the process works, then definitely do get a college counselor. There are really good ones out there, and if you want me to um, give you mine, I can do that for sure. Um, but if you're confident in that, then you can just get an essay editor that will just edit your essays and make them better. So yeah.
Okay. I don't think there's any other questions. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming. If anyone has any other questions for Jewel, you can just like message in the Dream Big group chat and we'll try and get it to him.